Someone is building the future right now. They aren't necessarily more talented than you, and they don't have access to better tools. They are working with the same 24 hours, the same internet, and the same smartphone as everyone else. The difference lies in what they produce. While the majority of the world spends its time scrolling through content, a rare few are using that same time to master difficult skills and create. We often mistake being busy for being effective. Clearing an inbox or sitting through a string of meetings feels productive because it keeps us in constant motion, providing a steady drip of small accomplishments. Real value is created by uninterrupted attention. A person who spends 4 hours in total immersion often accomplishes more than someone who spends 12 hours oscillating between various minor tasks. The most successful people in the modern world treat attention as their most valuable asset, a currency more critical than time or raw intelligence. Every digital notification and every infinite scroll represents an external entity trying to spend that currency for you. When hundreds of these points strike your focus daily, the impact compounds. Each notification pulls you from your priorities. These micro-extractions don't just take seconds. They slowly erode your ability to sustain complex thoughts, depleting your cognitive reserves. You are living through an invisible heist. Your focus is being systematically harvested, one interruption at a time. This environment is intentional. The tools we use every day are designed to be distracting, because the technology industry relies on a specific economic engine. A platform's profitability is directly tied to how long you stay on it. Every minute you spend distracted is a minute that contributes to their bottom line. This has sparked an arms race of algorithms. Companies spend billions to make apps more addictive and entertainment more personalized, all to capture a larger share of your limited mental energy. When billions of dollars depend on keeping you from your work, your distraction becomes a foundational business model. We often tell ourselves we can handle several streams of information at once. In reality, the human brain is incapable of processing multiple high-level tasks simultaneously. What we call multitasking is actually context switching. Neural pathways are forced to sever connections and bridge new gaps. Every switch burns energy and time. A brief glance forces the brain to reorient, reducing clarity. Doing this hundreds of times leaves your brain exhausted. Building a valuable skill is like constructing a tower, block by block, requiring steady, vertical progression. An interruption pulls a brick from the foundation, stopping growth. You cannot reach heights of significant achievement if forced to constantly restart the first levels. Context switching is the primary weapon used to dismantle your capacity for high-level performance. The danger of the attention economy is that the damage is invisible day to day. You only see the cost when you look back at a timeline of years. Losing a life's ambition happens 5 minutes at a time. A notification here and a scroll there are small withdrawals, but they eventually result in a massive deficit of realized potential. History shows that every groundbreaking discovery and every life-changing business was the result of long, quiet periods of deep thinking. These things are never created in the gaps between notifications. Allowing algorithms to dictate where you look is a choice that slowly pushes your long-term goals out of reach. You can resist this process by treating focus as a muscle rather than an innate gift. Every time you ignore an impulse to check your phone and stay present with a difficult task, you are strengthening your ability to concentrate. In an economy where almost everyone is distracted, the ability to sit down and think deeply is becoming the ultimate competitive advantage. It will consistently outproduce raw intelligence or luck. Deep work is an act of taking back control. It is a refusal to let a corporation decide what is worth your attention. In a world addicted to distraction, the rare ability to focus has become a defining advantage for those who want to build the future. You finally sit down at your desk and clear your afternoon for that big project or a difficult study session. But within 10 minutes, your hands have moved on their own, and you find yourself staring at your phone. It's easy to get frustrated in these moments and wonder if your discipline has simply evaporated, or if your attention span is permanently damaged. Your brain is actually functioning exactly as designed. It has adapted with incredible precision to the environment you've built for it. This feeling of impossible focus comes from a daily routine that teaches your mind to expect a hit of something new every few seconds. Think about what happens if you spend months eating nothing but highly processed, sugary candy. Eventually, a healthy meal, like a plate of roasted vegetables, starts to taste like nothing. Your taste buds have become so used to the spike of sugar that they can no longer detect the subtle flavors of real food. Attention follows this same biological pattern. This top chart shows how your taste buds lose their edge when they're flooded with sugar. Now look at the bottom chart. Your brain's ability to focus drops the same way when it's flooded with digital noise. When that line flattens out, silence begins to feel uncomfortable. Reading a book feels like a chore, and studying becomes physically exhausting. The work isn't too hard for you. Your brain is just starving for the rapid-fire novelty it has learned to crave. That struggle to stay on task is the sign of a mind that is perfectly calibrated for digital junk food rather than deep concentration. That junk food is everywhere. Notifications, infinite scrolls, and personalized recommendations are all designed to feed you a constant stream of the new. These features are carefully engineered to keep you on the screen for as long as possible. The longer you stay, the more valuable your time becomes to the people building the app. This environment creates an illusion of productivity. You spend all day replying, scrolling through feeds, and watching videos, feeling incredibly busy, yet the day ends without a single major accomplishment to show for it. Consuming information is a passive act, whereas creating real value requires you to be active. Reading 10 articles about a topic gives you a sense of forward momentum, but that progress is hollow if you never actually apply what you've learned. Navigating the modern world without clear boundaries almost guarantees a life spent on shallow consumption. We call these tasks shallow work. They keep you occupied and visible to others, but they don't actually move you toward your goals. Real progress looks like this. Small bursts of shallow work bounce right off big challenges, while concentrated deep work builds momentum to break through. But the moment a distraction hits, that focus fractures and your progress completely resets. To build that momentum in the first place, your mind needs silence. Think about why your best ideas often appear in the shower or while you're driving. In those moments, your mind finally has room to connect ideas in new ways because it isn't busy reacting to a screen. Original thinking and deep work grow from intentionally protected blocks of quiet. Most of us have forgotten how to allow that space. The moment boredom appears, whether we're waiting in line or sitting alone for a minute, we reach for a device to fill the gap. This habit reinforces the idea that silence is something to be avoided, making it even harder to sit still when we actually need to work. You can look at boredom as a training ground for your mind. Resisting the urge to check your phone while you're waiting for the bus is like a mental repetition. It strengthens the exact part of your brain you need for deep focus later on. Sitting quietly without seeking entertainment is a rare skill in the modern world, which makes it an incredible competitive advantage. Focus is built through the ordinary, small decisions you make every day. You start by lowering the noise in your environment. Leave the phone in another room. Close every tab you don't need. Focus on one single task until it is completely finished. As your attention span recovers, the nature of your work changes. It starts feeling less chaotic and much more intentional. The same hour of work produces much higher quality results because your energy is directed toward one meaningful goal instead of being scattered across 20 different things. Choosing a distraction automatically means saying no to something meaningful. By curating your information diet and embracing moments of silence, you allow your brain to reset, letting you savor the deep work that truly changes your life. You sit down to work. You read, reply, and scroll through endless feeds. By the time evening arrives, you feel exhausted, yet you struggle to name a single meaningful thing you actually accomplished. When you finally try to transition to something quiet, like reading a book or sitting with your thoughts, a strange friction appears. Silence feels uncomfortable. Studying feels draining. Most people look at this mental fog and assume they lack discipline. They worry their brain has stopped working the way it should. Our brains possess a remarkable ability to rewire themselves based on the inputs they receive. The difficulty we feel when trying to focus is the result of the mind conforming to the specific environment we've provided. Think of a diet consisting only of sugary food. Eventually, healthy meals taste bland because the brain has become accustomed to a specific level of constant stimulation. Digital novelty works the same way. Every notification and short video trains the mind to expect something new every few seconds. This lack of focus is the logical outcome of living in an environment designed to harvest our attention. Our cognitive clarity has been traded for the convenience of constant distraction. Infinite scrolls and personalized algorithms act as an active training mechanism. They condition the brain to seek a dopamine hit the moment the pace of life slows down even slightly. We often try to manage this by multitasking, but the human brain cannot process multiple complex tasks at once. Instead, it must rapidly switch between them. Every time you toggle between a spreadsheet and an email, you pay a switch cost. This hidden tax drains your finite daily mental energy. Hundreds of these micro switches compound over a single day. Eventually, your capacity for clear thought is entirely depleted. Imagine trying to build a massive skyscraper while someone removes a critical brick from the foundation every few minutes. The structure never gains height. Every interruption forces the brain to restart the construction of a complex thought from the beginning. Reacting to notifications creates an illusion of productivity. In reality, it bankrupted the mental depth required to perform work that carries actual value. Shallow work consists of constant movement with little progress. It is like digging dozens of shallow holes in a field and wondering why you never reach water. Deep work requires the commitment to dig a single uninterrupted shaft. The aquifer is only accessible to those who stay in one place long enough. In this state of complete immersion, time seems to vanish. Complex ideas connect without friction, and your skills are perfectly matched to the challenge at hand. Most people interrupt this process before the brain can fully lock in. The moment a task becomes difficult, they reach for a distraction, self-sabotaging their progress. This habit is reinforced by an economy where your attention is the primary product. Entire business models rely on keeping users trapped in a shallow state where they are easily influenced and perpetually distracted. Allowing our attention to be fractured prevents us from transforming information into progress. Without immersion, we stay on the surface, busy but ineffective. Reclaiming focus begins with boredom. Rather than a sensation to be avoided, boredom is the biological training ground where original thinking begins. Resisting the urge to check a phone physically rebuilds the brain's capacity for attention. Each moment of restraint strengthens the neural pathways required for concentration. High performers protect this energy by using routines. A routine removes the need to make 1,000 small decisions throughout the morning, preserving mental fuel for the work that matters. Think of an airplane on a runway. The highest volume of fuel is burned during the act of takeoff. Once in the air, maintaining speed requires far less effort. Your mind follows this exact pattern. Protecting the first 20 minutes of a task is essential for reaching that cruise altitude. This requires saying no to interruptions and eliminating the opportunity costs that steal your focus. Strategic rest is a requirement for deep work. A walk outside or a period of quiet reflection allows the concentration battery to recharge for the next session. In a world engineered for distraction, the ability to focus is a rare competitive advantage. Mastering this skill is how we move past simply being busy and begin building the future. Right now, someone is building the future. They have the exact same 24 hours in their day as everyone else, the same internet, the same smartphone, and the same endless stream of distractions. Yet a rare few produce vastly more meaningful work than the rest of us. For most people, a typical day is a marathon of exhausting, fruitless effort. You spend 12 hours reading, replying to emails, attending meetings, and scrolling through endless feeds. Yet when the day finally ends, you struggle to remember what you actually accomplished. The modern workforce often mistakes visibility for value. We treat instant responses and constant movement across dozens of small tasks as evidence of progress. However, activity and achievement are distinct metrics that rarely overlap. This exhausting cycle is rarely a failure of personal discipline. It is the predictable result of a brain that has adapted perfectly to an environment specifically engineered to scatter human attention. Imagine eating nothing but highly processed, sugary foods for months. Healthy meals eventually begin to taste bland once your taste buds acclimate to extreme, constant stimulation. Your attention follows the same biological rules. Infinite scrolling, personalized recommendations, and persistent notifications are carefully engineered to harvest your focus. In this economic model, your fragmented attention is the primary product being sold to the highest bidder. These platforms train the brain to expect something new every few seconds. Consequently, silence becomes uncomfortable. Sitting alone with your thoughts or reading a complex book begins to feel physically draining because the mind has been conditioned to crave constant novelty. As long as we allow algorithms to monetize our time, we knowingly trade away our cognitive capacity. We lose the mental space required to connect complex ideas and produce truly original work. This environment creates a state of shallow work, fragmented, shallow movement across dozens of unfinished tasks that keeps you occupied without moving your life forward. This diagram illustrates the cognitive physics of focus. The brain cannot perform complex tasks simultaneously. It rapidly switches, leaving mental residue at every transition. While one switch feels harmless, hundreds of daily micro-interruptions destroy your clarity. Focus shatters from the tax of constant switching. Working this way is like digging for water by opening dozens of 3-foot holes. You spend the entire day moving, but never reach the depth where water actually resides. You end the day with a series of shallow pits and no progress. True value requires the discipline of deep work. It is the rare ability to dig one single deep hole and ignore the urge to switch locations until you finally hit a breakthrough. Mental energy is a finite daily resource, quietly drained by decision fatigue. Every tiny choice, from what to wear to which email to open first, spends a portion of your capacity for focus. Exceptional performers bypass this drain by using rigid routines. Instead of relying on willpower, they use consistency to remove uncertainty. When your brain knows exactly what comes next, it saves energy for the work itself. Starting a difficult task is the point of maximum friction. Like a heavy airplane burning the most fuel during takeoff, your brain requires the most effort just to initiate deep focus. Once you reach altitude, maintaining that speed becomes significantly easier. High performers protect the first 20 minutes of a task at all costs. By pushing through this initial discomfort, you reach a state of complete cognitive immersion. This is where time vanishes and complex problems reveal their own solutions. The friction of starting and the discomfort of boredom are the exact training grounds necessary to rebuild your attention span. Every minute spent resisting the urge to check your phone strengthens your capacity for deep thought. Mastering deep work requires a shift toward proactive life architecture. You must aggressively schedule blocks of uninterrupted thinking before anything else hits your calendar, because shallow work will always expand to fill any empty space. Every commitment carries a hidden opportunity cost. Saying yes to every minor request means automatically saying no to your most meaningful goals. This architecture also requires a new perspective on rest. The brain is like a battery that requires strategic recovery through walking, exercise, or sleep. Grinding through exhaustion actually destroys the very focus you are trying to cultivate. Viewing rest and strict boundaries as mandatory professional investments ensures that long-term quality outperforms frantic quantity. The highest level of attention belongs to the hours that matter most. Even after you have silenced the notifications and cleared your schedule, the hardest challenge remains. Once the room is quiet, you have to face the final obstacle. The deepest barrier is the fear of confronting work that truly matters. Meaningful creations carry the inherent risk of failure, and it is often easier to hide behind the safety of being busy than to risk being wrong. Choosing to confront the blank page allows you to reclaim your identity from the algorithms. It is the act of taking back control over your time and deciding what deserves your limited attention. In a society addicted to distraction, the rare ability to sit in silence and think deeply has quietly become the defining competitive advantage of the 21st century.
All right, let's jump straight into this explainer because we're looking at a completely fascinating concept from our source material today. Basically, it's about how your attention acts exactly like financial compound interest. I mean, we all know how money compounds over time, right? How a tiny investment, if you just leave it alone, can literally grow into an absolute fortune. But what if we applied that exact same mathematical principle to human focus? That is the journey we're going on today. We're going to look under the hood at the hidden mechanics of deep work. So to kick things off, I want you to literally telescope into the future. Really picture it. Imagine your life 5 years from now. The source material asks us to consider a hard truth. The success you are visualizing right now is not going to happen because of one lucky break. And no one's going to just hand it to you on a silver platter either. It's going to happen because you learned to fiercely protect the one resource that absolutely everyone else is casually giving away: your attention.
And that brings us to this really stark divergence between two types of people. On one hand, you've got the reactive path. Honestly, this is the default setting for most of the world. People spending years merely reacting, chasing every single notification, and becoming deeply, deeply addicted to constant stimulation. But contrast that with the creator path. While the reactive crowd is distracted, the creators, they're spending those exact same years creating, mastering one valuable skill after another, and getting really profoundly comfortable with deep concentration.
Okay, Section 1. The 5-year gap, invisible to impossible.
Let's look at how this divergence builds over time, because this is wild. At first, the difference is completely invisible. One focused hour or learning a new skill on a random Tuesday, that doesn't instantly make you an industry titan. But time has a funny way of rewarding consistency. Jump 5 years down the line and the gap is just staggering. Two people who once seemed equally talented now live totally different lives. One became a highly respected expert, while the other became perpetually distracted, leaving behind this endless trail of unfinished projects. The difference wasn't intelligence, it wasn't luck. It was entirely about how they spent their attention.
Moving on to Section 2, the modern trap, cost of constant availability. This completely dismantles the modern myth that staying connected every single second of the day is somehow a superpower. Society totally tells us to answer every message immediately, right? Check every notification, hit inbox 0 the absolute second an email arrives. But the source emphasizes this incredible quote: "You cannot create something extraordinary if your attention belongs to everyone except yourself." That's huge. Constant availability always comes at a massive cost to your meaningful achievement. Think about it. The average person checks their phone well over 100 times a day. But the people who actually change industries or write best-selling books or build these remarkable companies, they have exactly one crucial thing in common. Just one. They fiercely protect their time for uninterrupted thinking. And they don't do this because they magically have more free time than the rest of us. Obviously not. They do it because they deeply, truly understand its value.
Let's get into Section 3, the core concept: attention as compound interest. So let's unpack how this invisible resource functions precisely like money sitting in a bank. Every hour of deep work pays dividends for years, literally. The skills you master today, they create tomorrow's opportunities. Nothing meaningful is ever wasted. It compounds. And the best part is, eventually, focus stops feeling like a chore. It becomes your natural state, which leads directly to significantly better results.
All right, Section 4. The law of attention.
Now we've arrived at the philosophical heart of our source material. The foundational rule here is that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your attention. Listen to the rhythm of this because it's so powerful. Whatever receives your attention begins to expand. If distraction receives it, distraction grows. It completely takes over your mind. If fear receives it, fear grows. Whatever you consciously or unconsciously choose to stare at is exactly what will end up dominating your reality.
But on the flip side, if learning receives your attention, knowledge grows. The source uses this absolutely beautiful metaphor here. Attention is exactly like sunlight. Wherever you choose to direct that beam, something in the soil of your life is going to begin to develop. And ultimately, if meaningful work receives it, your future grows. Every single day you are directing that sunlight somewhere, so you have to ask yourself, are you building the life you truly want, or are you accidentally growing a giant forest of distractions? So how do we fix this? How do we stop confusing mere motion with actual progress?
Which brings us to Section 5, actionable philosophy, choosing depth over distraction. Look, most people wake up, immediately grab their phones, and spend the entire day just responding to the world instead of actually creating something in it. Do not become one of them.
The source gives us a very direct three-part daily action plan. Protect your mornings, protect your focus, protect your standards. You've got to be incredibly intentional about this, because every single distraction you eliminate creates real physical and mental space for something so much more valuable. It makes room for one more idea, one more solution, one more breakthrough.
Mastery really just comes down to 3 simple steps. Step 1, disconnect from the noise. Step 2, connect with your best thinking. Step 3, choose depth repeatedly. You don't need some perfectly aesthetic home office. You don't need a bottomless well of motivation, and you certainly do not need extraordinary innate talent. You simply need the daily courage to disconnect from the noise long enough to engage in hours of uninterrupted effort. Honestly, that is where mastery begins.
Because down the road, people are going to look at your success and they will completely misunderstand it. They'll mistakenly call it talent, or they'll say, "Oh, you just got lucky." They will be totally blind to the invisible moments, the quiet mornings before the rest of the world woke up, the intensely focused afternoons, the difficult decisions to say no, the countless distractions you just refused to engage with, the consistency you ruthlessly protected. These invisible moments that absolutely nobody else sees, those are the actual bricks with which extraordinary lives are built.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really powerful question for the next time you sit down at your desk. Before you even touch your keyboard, ask yourself, am I just reacting to the world today, or am I creating something the world has never seen before? How you answer that in the quiet moments of your day won't just determine how productive you are this afternoon. It will entirely shape the direction of your future. Choose your